Hey girl, how are you doing? Emily, how are you doing, girl? So today is the 11th of October, 2018. And oh boy, my voice is feeling a little raspy today. So we'll see how that works. Happy Thursday! And the great thing is that today, Thursday, is basically my Friday. I've got a lot of stuff to do today, and I was unsure about whether I was going to make this video right now or not. But I went ahead and decided, shoot, I'll go ahead and do it. Why not? Let's make life easier for me, right? So, I've got my jewelry making class today, and I have a really busy day at work, and I'm looking forward to that and making a lot of progress. I just finished writing a letter to you, and that letter was to invite you to a concert in Los Angeles. That's right. So the concert is the Troye Sivan concert at the Greek Theater in Los Angeles on the 30th of October at 7:30 p.m. And the in the lineup is Kim Petras, who is another musician who I really enjoy. So I actually like both Kim Petras and Troye Sivan, and I think you've told me that you like Troye Sivan too. And so that's partly why I'm inviting you, because I think you and I might have a really good time at the Greek Theater listening to this wonderful, cool electro pop music. And so I'm curious if you'd like to go. If you don't care to go, that's fine too. I've got lots of musically inclined friends who would jump at the chance to go on a musical adventure and enjoy some time at a concert and do some dancing in the stands, right? So, no risk for me, one way or the other is fine. Though I do prefer that you and your mom come along with me. I think that would be a lot of fun. I think that it would be a good time and enjoyable to see an outdoor concert. Enjoyable to dance around a little bit to some electronic pop music. And let me tell you, I've really been loving Troye Sivan. I mean, I really have been enjoying his music. I mean, it's just so catchy and danceable. And, I've really been savoring it lately. And so I figured that's totally what I want to do. So I'm going to go for it. And it's not that far away. It's only about a 2 hour, 45-minute drive. Basically it's a 3 hour drive to Los Angeles. No big deal. I think the Greek Theater is right outside Griffith Park. So I need to drive down to LA anyway. So I think it's going to be kind of fun and enjoyable. And, we'll just drive back after the concert's done. So there's no big deal. And anyway, I figured I'd go. Sounds like fun to me. So let's see, what else is going on in my life? Well, I have a really strong interest in doing some stand-up paddleboarding. I already went to REI in Santa Barbara, and I know that REI has some tutoring promotions where they have classes in the outdoors and they teach people how to camp and hike and climb, and they also teach people to stand up paddleboard. So I went down to to Santa Barbara to REI, and I picked up one of their flyers. And anyway, they do have a stand up paddleboard class. So hopefully within the next week or two, I'll take my first paddleboarding class. Wouldn't that be cool? Maybe even this weekend. Why not, huh? Serious. I need to get out in the ocean. Loving that ocean. And another reason I was at the REI the other day was because I'm looking for a hat. A hat. It's starting to get cooler now. Now that it's October, mid-October, and then November, December. These are very cold months. So I'm gearing up to get some cold weather gear. And I'm looking for just the right hat. Just the right cap that I can put on my head and keep myself warm. Now I already have a knit hat. It has a brim on the front, and honestly, I'm not that crazy about it. The brim is sort of odd looking, I think, and I'd like something a little bit more playful, a little more fun, maybe something a little more colorful. The hat that I have now is a black hat, and I think I want to add a little color. I'm thinking I want to add like a little dramatic color, like maybe a burgundy or a green, or yeah, I was even thinking of like a light blue. And in fact, there are all kinds of hats out there, and it's actually, there's so many kinds of hats that it's kind of hard to choose what kind of hat I'd like to wear. There are even hats that have decorations on them, like they've got poof balls in the back, and some of them have like ear muff coverings, and some of them have things that come down like this, like straps that you can tie around your chin to make them come down. And they're also decorative hats. They've got their hats with faces and noses and ears on them. Honestly, I've been thinking about getting one of those. Just a little bit. That's, I guess, the playful side of my fashion interest, right? We'll see what I choose. There are also hats that are sort of floppy in the back, sort of floppy, and then they sort of flop down. Those are interesting to me too. So honestly, I'm kind of struggling a little bit seeking out the right kind of knit hat that I want for this winter. But it's a good kind of struggle. It's making me think about, what I want to wear. So I'm curious about you and how you might be gearing up for this winter season. Are you looking for a jacket or looking for new sweaters? Or, are you looking for new jeans? Maybe there are a different kind of jeans that you want to get. Maybe gloves. Are you looking for perhaps getting a pair of gloves? I wonder how you are preparing for this winter season, and if you've got any ideas for fashionable accessories. Like the other day, I was looking at scarves and looking at scarves. I have a couple of scarves. I actually have 3 scarves. I have an infinity scarf. I have a Harry Potter scarf that's gold and red striped, just like the Harry Potter scarf. And then I also have another kind of scarf. Oh, it's a scarf I made myself. I actually made a scarf using my sewing machine. I put that together. And the thing is, I don't wear scarves very often. And, maybe I need to break out of my fashion rut and start wearing scarves. Let me tell you, at REI, I found there was a scarf on the shelves that was huge. I don't know if you've seen these, but it was freaking big. It was like, I can't believe people actually wear these things. But they're like, it's essentially like a round donut that you fit over your head and you fit your neck into. It's just this huge freaking donut, this knit donut. I tried it on. It looked okay. It looked okay. It was a little extravagant for Santa Barbara weather, let me tell you. You know, I I don't know. I didn't know what to say about such a big scarf. I've actually never seen such a big scarf. And in fact, I think if I'm going to get a scarf, it might be a smaller scarf, not something that's as big as that. I don't know. I wonder if you wear scarves, and do you have any preferences? Are there any? Do you wear scarves for warmth or fashion mainly? And I'm curious, how are you liking your jacket that you've got these days? Are you searching for a new jacket? Maybe are you looking for sweaters and focused on sweater vests now, or any kind of sweater clothing now? And I wonder, do you have gloves? I've actually not been wearing gloves. I'm not a fan of gloves here in California. All the time that I've been in California, I just haven't worn any gloves. It's only when I travel to other places where the weather gets really, really cold that I decide to wear gloves. Or when I decide to go skiing or play in the snow and make snowmen or get in a snowball fight or anything like that. Gloves are definitely a necessity. And so I have not been wearing gloves. That kind of reminds me about this winter time. I know your mom has always kind of been interested in skiing and teaching you how to ski. And I'm curious if you've gone skiing before. We've gone skiing before, you and your mom. I remember, I think we were at Taos Ski Valley. Or was it Red River? Or where were we? I think we were at Taos Ski Valley. Yeah, I think we were at Taos Ski Valley. And you skied there when you were just a kid. You were like 4 years old. How hilarious. I still have vivid memories of you skiing basically as a toddler. And I remember it so vividly. I wonder if you've been skiing since. Now's a prime time to learn, that's for sure. And I'm a pretty good skier myself, but it's been a long time since I've been on the slopes. But these days I'm pretty well conditioned. I could probably do a very good job skiing. And so, and if you're heading out to the slopes, I'd be interested in coming along. That sounds like some good, clean fun. It's nice to get up in the mountains and smell that crisp air and enjoy the pine trees and the ravens. I skied for many years when I was a kid. I was part of a ski program in my middle school, and I was part of that program for like 4 years. And so, because I skied as a child, that ability to ski is essentially imprinted in my nervous system. And so I can be pretty good, after a little bit of a warm up. I think I could be pretty talented. Now that I'm older, though, I probably wouldn't go on as many black diamonds as I used to go. A black diamond ski run is a ski run that's rather steep and often bumpy. It's got moguls on it. I probably wouldn't do too many of those as an older person, but why not? I wouldn't mind hitting the slopes again, or even experimenting something new with. I've gone cross country skiing before, and that would be interesting. I wouldn't mind doing some of that too. So, or even snowshoeing. I've been snowshoeing before. Ever since I moved to California, being in the snow and skiing, it happens very occasionally. It doesn't happen very often. I just don't make it a priority. even though I've had quite a number of opportunities to go skiing. You know, it's an enjoyable pastime, and it would be a pastime that I'd enjoy spending with you. So, you know, I'm just letting you know that I'm open to that. So let's see what else has been going on in my life. Well, I don't know. Today's the 11th, so maybe we can spend some time reading the book Peaceful Living by Mary McKenzie. Let's see what she has to say today. So today is the 11th of October, and here's the quotation of the day. He who conquers others is strong. He who conquers himself is mighty. Lao Tzu. Yeah, you know, conquering yourself is definitely a challenge. Let's see what Mary McKenzie has to say about that quote. Her passage begins with the subtitle, Trusting Yourself. I used to close myself off from many people because I was afraid they would want something from me that I didn't want to give. I simply closed down and allowed very few people in. I was lonely, sad, and trapped when I lived from this consciousness. Can you relate? Now, I know that I choose what I give to other people. My freedom came when I started to learn new tools for being honest, clarifying my needs, and taking care of myself in all my relationships. Once I could trust that I wouldn't give more than I wanted, I could let all kinds of people into my world. My life became abundant, diverse, and joyful. And the thought for the day is, be aware of your ability to choose what you give in your relationships today. So, you know, this is really an interesting angle that she talks about relating to trusting yourself. And trusting yourself not to, now that she says, now I know that I choose what I give to other people. I simply closed down and allowed very few people in. So here it was. I was afraid they would want something from me that I didn't want to give. Well, you know, that's a real challenge. It's about saying no, right, to people. And when they make requests, and, you know, how can one preserve relationship and say no at the same time? You know, that's a challenge for a lot of people in a lot of social situations. And, you know, I think it's really, there are sort of two sides. You know, it's essentially a problem that involves two people, right? And I think it might involve two people together. In a way, you know, whether a no will be accepted or not accepted is, you know, it sort of depends on who you have around you and, you know, your level of trust with them. And, you know, and, you know, and ideally saying, a person would say yes to only something that they, well, you know, this really comes down to problems of consent. And it also, but it's not just, it's actually more than consent. It's also being honest with yourself and your own values. And, you know, and also it has a lot to do with how the other person responds to your no. You know, it's about responding to no. How does one respond to no? How does one respond to a response of no, to someone else's response of no? It's sort of, I mean, it's easy to say no, though somehow there has to be a way to say no and preserve the relationship at the same time, ideally. And that's not always the case, right? You know, it's kind of funny that someone would pose an ask, that is, ask a question that's like a deal breaker, like in the moment. You know, that actually doesn't happen very often. People saying no affecting the relationship. The thing about it is that every act affects a relationship. Every every act. A relationship is just that. It's a relationship in real time between two people, and it's an interplay between two people, and like I mentioned, every act that's sort of in proximity to another affects the relationship between the both of you. And that's just sort of like logical. I don't think I have much to say about it. This whole idea of trusting yourself is kind of interesting too. Of I guess the problem has to do with, and as you can tell, maybe I just haven't thought a lot about it, but this whole idea of trusting yourself, I don't know what that means. Trusting yourself. Well, I think I'm not into, just right now, I just don't happen to be thinking a lot about interpersonal communication in our relationship. I have compassion for Mary Mackenzie and her feelings, and I hope she's able to sort them out. You know, a lot of problems are created because of the words that the problems are couched in, right? Often a problem is created by just sort of how we think about a situation, how we think about ourselves. And if you choose a different approach to sort of describing the world around you, use different words, different phrases, different metaphors, then quite often a problem gets solved. And this might be one of those cases. This whole idea of trusting yourself, I don't know, there's something odd about that construction, that linguistic construction. It's almost as if it splits you into two people. There's the person that makes a decision, and then there's the person who responds to the decision. And I think that's why I'm having difficulty sorting it out in my own mind, because it sort of it bifurcates a person into two people. When you say yes, that's one person saying yes and another person accepting the consequence of that yes. It's the same person, right? It's not two different people. you know it's a single person. you know Even if you say yes to a query from somebody, you say yes for a reason, right? To preserve a value, which is the relationship. It's not like there are two people, like one who wants to preserve the relationship and one that doesn't care to preserve the relationship. There's just one person. So that's how this whole idea of trusting yourself, I don't know. I think it has some kind of flawed logic in it. Can you trust the self that's trusting yourself? Can you trust that self that trusts that self that trusts that self that trusts the original self? You know, it can go on and on in a sort of logical way. So I don't know. I don't think that personality split makes any sense. Now, there is a way that it does make sense. There's multiple perspectives. There's multiple perspectives, and you can act to preserve one set of values and then act to preserve another set of values. Though there's a choice that has to be made about what set of values you choose to preserve in every moment. And it's a choice that you make. You act according to either one perspective or another perspective about securing and achieving certain values. And, you're always just one person making choices in the moment. And you're never really ever two people at the same time. Now, you might hold two different perspectives that clash. Now, that makes perfect sense. And, but really, ultimately, it's you who decides which set of values that you want to preserve in any moment. You know, you make a decision based on what's a priority for you in that moment. And you have the ability to choose differently in every moment. Absolutely. So, yeah, I don't like that just a literal construction of trusting yourself. I think it might not be a fully accurate statement. There are statements that just don't make any sense, like round squares, square holes. You could say them, but it doesn't mean that it makes any sense. Flying horses. You can talk in contradictions all day. And just because the construction exists, and even just because the construction is in common everyday parlance, it doesn't necessarily mean that it makes any sense at all. There are a lot of people who throw around ideas and concepts that are pure fantasy. Like, yeah, they're, and people think about them and talk about them as if they were real, like ghosts, for example. People have spent millennia thinking about ghosts, talking about ghosts, and they haven't become more real because of all of this talk about ghosts. The idea of a ghost doesn't somehow get logical and get real just because a lot of people talk about a particular construct of ideas. Human beings are amazing, and that we have amazing creativity to talk about unicorns, for example, or leprechauns, right? And, we can respond to those ideas. Santa Claus, for example, right? The Easter Bunny. And, we can create entire holidays, and people can perform acts of devotion and acts of service in the name of these concepts, which are purely constructions of our mind and our imagination and our fantasy. And they can be motivating and they can be meaningful. And it also doesn't make them any realer than they were before. It doesn't affect the reality of the situation, even though it might appear to affect the reality. A lot of that is just it's playfulness. It's basically playfulness. And I have a feeling that the construction, trusting yourself, is just a playful way in psychology speak to think about an interesting conundrum, an interesting problem that probably isn't real. And some people are in the habit of saying that all the time. Anyway, I hope you have a wonderful day. I'm going to continue this discussion a little bit later in the day today. I just wanted to get started. And anyway, I look forward to talking to you at the end of the day today. I love you. Peace.
Hey, how are you doing, girl? I am back. Nice to see you again. Yeah, so this is, it's about almost 5 o'clock p.m. I just got off work and I am ready to drive to Santa Maria and head out to my jewelry making class. Looking forward to that. I've got a few projects I'm working on. Feeling a little fatigued today because I did some running on the treadmill and had really a fantastic workout. I think pretty much on every exercise I did today, I exceeded my expectations. See, running on the treadmill, bicycling on the stationary bike. Yep, doing some crunches on the captain's chair, and then doing some machine squats. That's right. Every exercise that I did today, I made progress on. So, man, today was a gangbuster day. I was really doing well in the gym. Just making it happen and feeling good during my workout. I'm not sure why my workout felt so good yesterday or today. You know, yesterday I wasn't feeling so good. I was like feeling kind of tired yesterday. And I was pretty much gearing up to do a whole lot of nothing yesterday evening. I was thinking, well, maybe I should do something. And then I thought to myself, I'm too tired. But today I'm just fine. That fatigue wore off, 24 hours, and I'm good to go right now. In fact, I still feel good. I feel strong enough to even do more stuff. Yeah, today was essentially my leg day. And so I did a lot of biking and running and squatting. And I've been thinking about doing some leg presses in the machine. So that's where I think I'm going. I think I want to get more committed to my weightlifting routine. It's becoming that much a part of my life that I think I really want to, take some time out and focus on how I can make my workouts better and make them more intense and maybe just do a better job at enjoying my workouts, right? Not that I have to try very hard because I really do enjoy my workouts very much. Yesterday, I put in a purchase at Amazon.com for a set of Bluetooth earphones that I can use when I do cardio. So I might have used those today, I guess, if I had 1 day shipping or whatever. But I didn't ask for that, so I'm gonna have to wait a little bit until I get those Bluetooth headphones. I'm a little curious. Do you exercise with headphones in your ears? I'm not too captivated by the idea, but I see a lot of people at the gym wearing headphones in their ears. I think it's probably not a good idea to, say, run near a road, do any kind of running sort of out of doors with Bluetooth headphones on, mainly because you can't hear, the sense of hearing is diminished somehow when you've got headphones in your ears. And I know when you're out and running, you really do need to pay attention to the traffic. And especially if you're on a sidewalk, there are bicyclists who will call out and say that they're going to be passing on the left or the right. And that information is very important for you to get in a timely manner. And so, yeah, the only reason I'm entertaining the idea is I'm basically in a gym and I'm on a treadmill by myself, and there are no tripping hazards or any kind of hazards related to bicyclists or motorists or even other people who might get in my way. It's really just me on the machine. And so that is the reason I think I'm going to opt for headphones. If I had to pay attention to my surroundings in any considerable way, like if I had to, be on the lookout for something, like other people's calls for safety guidance, I don't think headphones would be an option for me. So yeah, I'm looking forward to using headphones. And it kind of makes me think about what kind of gear you might be using, if you're using any gear at all, for your track and field practices. My guess is that you're not using much, if any, gear, other than, say, the clothing that you wear and maybe your tennis shoes. I wonder what tennis shoes you're wearing. I've been really impressed by a pair of Brooks running shoes that I've got, Brooks, and I really love these running shoes. Before, I was running in Asics gels, and they were just a cheap pair of tennies that I picked up at the Big Five locally here in Lompoc. And, they were fine shoes. But I really like the Brooks shoes better. These Brooks shoes are designed, running shoes that are designed for runners. And I feel like there's some improvement there. Now, it might be just a psychological improvement. So I am kind of curious what kind of shoes you're wearing, whether you're wearing tennis shoes or, I keep calling them tennis shoes. That's what we called them a long time ago. Like 30 years ago when I was a kid, everything was a tennis shoe. That was the sporty shoe. But today, athletic shoes have really changed. We even call them different names. Like we've got trainers and cross trainers and running shoes and hiking shoes. Before, these distinctions didn't really exist. Well, maybe the distinction between running shoes and hiking shoes existed. But, there wasn't any real, and there might have been, at least in the world, external to me, this idea of a running shoe. But for us, growing up, it was all about tennis shoes. These were the shoes that people played tennis in. And in fact, even when I say athletic shoes, this is a phrase that's a little bit foreign to me because for the most part, I knew athletic shoes as tennis shoes, and I always knew them as that. And so it's really kind of interesting about how the terminology has changed as manufacturers have really come to grips with athletic shoes and what they're capable of, and come to grips with marketing to different people who participate in different sports. Yeah, it's gotten a lot more specific now, and I'm really pleased about these developments. I think tennis shoes are better than they've ever been before, or I should say athletic shoes are better than they've ever been before. It's great, really great having this specificity and detail. I think I have a feeling that Brooks uses computer technology and all kinds of modeling and testing before they put out their product for sale. At least I have a thought that they do that. I have a feeling that they've got laboratories for research and design, and they're coming up with all these amazing breakthroughs. And it's not just Brooks, but I'm sure Nike and Adidas and all these other shoe companies are really coming to grips with what it means for a person to wear an athletic shoe in their particular sport, and how athletic shoes can help enable these people to perform well and better in their sports of choice. So yeah, it's really fantastic. Yeah, what's been happening when it comes to the technology of athletic shoes is amazing. And there's more to be amazed by too, and that is the GPS products that are on people's watches, right? Like the Garmin watches, just stunning in their technical detail and in their ability to improve planning and performance for athletics, for athletes. I mean, I'm really totally blown away by some of the potential I see in these GPS watches that people are wearing now to measure their performance. In fact, I would guess that if you were involved in any kind of competition at all related to running, my guess is that a GPS watch might be pretty helpful in helping you improve your times. Sure, you can really only improve or manage what you can measure. That phrase is essentially a quote. You can only manage what you can measure. That's just, nowadays, it's common knowledge. But measuring your performance is really the first step to making progress. And a GPS watch is just an amazing measuring device. It measures distance and speed and a lot of other things. They've got heart rate now, and they've got the number of steps, and I'm sure some can calculate the number of calories that you're expending. And all of those data are like benchmarks that you can use to improve your performance in one way or another. So now I don't have a GPS watch myself. They're actually kind of expensive, right? They're on the order of $300, $400 or more. And for me, all the measurement that I need right now anyway is on the treadmill itself. That's how I get my numbers. I'm kind of a numbers junkie when it comes to the gym. That's how I acknowledge and understand the progress that I'm making over time. And it's that progress that I use to, make judgments on how I'm doing and make adjustments to improve my performance. Without the numbers, I'm really not sure that I could be as an effective athlete. Without numbers, just by going by feel, yeah, I'm not sure that would work. The numbers are so helpful. For example, the time, the duration that you perform an exercise is critical to improving your endurance or to improving your strength. But I think strength has more to do with, numbers relating to power output, right? Or difficulty, right? The intensity of a particular exercise. So, I don't know. I live and die by numbers. And what's great is my engineering background has prepared my mind to understand and deal with and think with numbers in a reasonably effective way. And for me, they're sort of indispensable to my workouts. I need those numbers. And there's also a part of me that says that if I do get a GPS watch, I just might become quite addicted to that watch and using it for my workouts. I could imagine being dependent on the watch. So, it is kind of a choice about how much data do I really need to make the progress that matters to me. I think it probably depends on what level of athletic performance you're operating at. My level of athletic performance is just moderate, everyday gym workout. I'm not competing against anyone in particular, except for myself. I'm only competing against my prior data, my prior records, my prior personal records, my prior PRs, and I can do that with a limited set of numbers. Really, just time and intensity are all that I need. At least all that I think I need. I'm sure that if I got a GPS watch, I might start focusing on things like heart rate or breathing rate or who knows what else. Blood oxygen level. These amazing gadgets that people have these days are pretty amazing. And I only expect them to become more and more sophisticated, more and more helpful. And there's going to be a time, I think, when the technology is so advanced through the use of things like artificial intelligence and sensor technology that they will become indispensable to exercise. That time is about to happen. It hasn't happened yet, but it's happening. And when will electronic gadgets be indispensable to exercise? When will that happen? I'm guessing probably in about 10 years. It'll be unthinkable for a person to exercise without some kind of monitoring device around their wrist or around their waist or around their chest. And monitoring devices, I assume, will become a lot more convenient too. These days we've got straps, right? Straps and, say, galvanic sensors up against the skin. Now we're coming up with new optical sensors and things like that. And I can imagine heat sensors also being on devices. There's all kinds of ways to sense what's going on with the human body. There might even be sensors that we stick on our skin like a Band-Aid to measure the sweat that's coming out. And it gives us data about, the components in our sweat and what that means to our athletic performance. So we'll see how that goes. One thing I'm noticing is that I'm feeling really good and really excited right now. And, I think it has to do with the fact that I exercised today. And my nervous system is still stimulated. My cardiovascular system still raring to go. It's almost as if this exercise just sort of recharged my batteries. And I'm like the Duracell, or is it the Duracell bunny? What kind of bunny is it? What is it? What bunny is that battery bunny? Maybe it's Duracell. Or maybe, what's the other one? I can't even remember what it is. So anyway, yeah, so I wonder what kind of gear you're using to assist you in your journey of improving your athletic performance. I remember you mentioned that you're doing a lot of conditioning work with your coach right now. That's great, and that's a really good place to start. So that coach sounds like he knows what he's doing. Another thing I did today is I went bicycling. I went biking on the stationary bike, and I made progress on the stationary bike, and I made some improvements. I biked for about an hour. I biked for an hour at a time. Well, pretty much exactly an hour. It's not about an hour. It's exactly an hour, plus or minus 2 or 3 seconds. You know, and I made a lot of good progress. One thing I noticed was that I was generating about 60 watts of power when I was exercising. So I need to check up on Wikipedia about how much power that is for legs to deliver every moment. I guess every second. I wonder how I compare to amazing cyclists like Lance Armstrong or any other of those racers on the Tour de France, the bicycling tour. I have a feeling that those racers on the Tour de France probably blow me away in the sense that they leave me in the dust. I have a feeling that, I mean, if I can output 60 watts, that those guys are probably outputting 200 watts. I mean, why not? Those bicyclists on the Tour de France are just machines. You know, they're monsters in terms of putting power into that pedal on their bicycles. So I don't know. I'd be interested to know. So in the case that I'm guessing, you mentioned that you run on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And that's probably sufficient running. 3 days a week is probably pretty good for running. And I can imagine you're making a lot of progress, stimulating your muscles with that kind of frequency. I can imagine you're getting really strong and really fast, and your endurance is just, getting higher like gangbusters. But I wanted to suggest that, if you ever decide to go for a run, say around La Prisma Mission, the lower loop, I'd totally be open to doing that loop with you. That sounds like a lot of fun, and I think we could have a good time running together. You could bring your mom too, or your stepdad, and we can go out there and do some running around the La Prisma Mission. That actually does sound like fun. It's been a long time since I've run around the lower loop at La Prisma Mission. It's probably been a good 5 years. And so it'll be nice to catch up with doing that again. And it'd be great to have wonderful company, good company while I do it. Yeah. So Halloween is coming up. And I mentioned that I bought a costume. And I was thinking about updating the tunic of my costume and producing it myself with my own sewing machine by creating a copy of the costume's tunic and replacing it with, say, a leather or a synthetic leather tunic. And I started thinking about that a little bit. And I think what I want to do is I'm going to keep the tunic as it is. But I think that what I will do is I'm going to make a cape. I think a cape is something that will work with the costume. It'll work with the tunic, it'll work with my bag, it'll work with my hat to be one of Robin Hood's merry men. And so that's what I think I'm going to do. I think I'm going to make a cape. And I'll, you know what, maybe even today, if I can scrape together enough time, which I might not be able to scrape together enough time. I only have about an hour until my class. I was thinking about heading out to Santa Maria to the fabric store, Joann's fabric store. I've got a coupon, and purchasing a synthetic leather, maybe 1 or 2 yards, so that I can make a decent cape that flows around me as I walk. It has one of Robin Hood's merry men this coming Halloween. So I'm looking forward to that idea. I think a cape, that's definitely something within my comfort zone, something that I can definitely put together in short order, and I think it will really accent my costume. Yeah, just a really nice long cape made of some kind of brown leather, and maybe like a satin material. That might be too high tech. Yeah, I need to really stay in, like, get that Middle Ages vibe in my design. Yeah, and the I think my selection, my choice of fabrics is going to go a long way towards bringing out the appeal of a Middle Ages cape. In fact, now that I think about it, leather may not be a good choice. Maybe some other kind of textile. Maybe something like a burlap. Oh yeah, like, burlap bags are really rough and coarse fibers. And that would make a lot more sense to have a cape made of burlap. Because I am going to be one of Robin Hood's merry men. These are people who basically live out in the forest. And yeah, it's not like they're wealthy people. So a leather cape probably wouldn't work. But burlap would work. I think burlap would work. Burlap would actually also be easier, and it would be lighter, because I'll be carrying this on my back, right on my shoulders the whole time. So that's really a pretty good idea. Maybe I'll do that. So anyway, it looks like it's time for me to wrap up this video. And I just wanted to say thank you for sharing your time with me, and at least observing or watching this discussion as we have it. And, thanks for taking the time to hang around and visit with me while, you've got some free time. And I hope you learned something about my personality and what's important to me, and also maybe get some indication of how much I care about you, and how valued you are to me. It's true. You are important to me. And not only are you as a person important, but your happiness is important to me. Your mental health is important to me, as well as your physical health. Always keen to know about what's going on with your health, so that I can support it in any way that I can. And by the way, I'm curious, how do you like that water flosser that I gifted you a couple weeks ago? How did that go? Or I wonder if you're enjoying that. Let me tell you, I am still enjoying my water flosser. I am raving about it. Just raving about it. In that it's just such an enjoyable thing to have around. I'm just loving it. I think it represents a very healthy habit to water floss once or twice a day. And it's really a game changer for me. And I have a feeling that my dental appointments are going to go a whole lot more smoothly because of it. And I also feel a lot less concerned about periodontal disease and things like that. Even getting cavities. I'm really happy to have excellent dental care, excellent dental habits. It's really, I didn't realize that it was so significant to me. Well, anyway, I hope you have a fantastic day today. That is the rest of the day today. And I hope you have a fantastic Friday tomorrow, and a fantastic weekend, and, a fantastic rest of the month of October. And let me tell you, I'm going to be striving to do the best that I can to support you and love you how I can, given the circumstances. All right? Love you, girl. Take care. Peace.